Hello, dear friends. Welcome to the kdrama channel, where you can find the best summaries of Asian dramas. Today's episode is unmissable, so make sure to leave a like, so YouTube will send you my dramas daily. In today's episode, we have a beautiful girl named Yu, who presents a dating app to find love, even though she is single. But Dustin also arrives at the location, a cute boy who looks like a bad boy, and wherever he goes, he falls in love with women. Dustin sneaks into Yu's office, and she thinks he is a stalker, but it turns out he is the son of the company's owner, and he remembers that she asked him to teach her how to work there. However, Dustin asks for freedom because he doesn't want to be the president, but since she refuses, Dustin uses his seduction techniques on Yu. To her surprise, they don't work, and he tells her she is doomed to stay single. She gets so angry that she forces him to stay locked up the entire day. Dustin decides to play a trick on her and pretends to be a ghost, but Yu hits him. When he stumbles, they end up kissing. Then, Yu pulls his ears, and he asks her not to tell his mother. In exchange, he will give her a kiss. She rejects him and spends her birthday alone. When a cake arrives at Dustin's house, she tries it and then returns it to him. The owner, who turns out to be Yu, discovers that her kitchen was a mess and decides to make a cake for her as an apology. While she looks at him with love, she then asks why she is always single. She does a live show where she sets the task of finding a boyfriend in 3 months. She organizes a date to find her ideal partner, but the participants say it is nearly impossible because she is a cold woman and doesn't know how to love. Then, Dustin spies on her, and they realize that they are compatible. She says this is impossible because she doesn't like him. He senses Dustin's feelings and feels sad about it. He goes home, apologizing when suddenly the faucet bursts. The two cover the water with their hands while Dustin notices Yu's beauty, and she gets nervous because Dustin's muscles are visible in the water. This makes her feel feverish, but he tries to calm her down. Dustin then offers help to find a boyfriend, as the singles night is coming up, where 50 women and 50 men meet to find a partner. On that day, they meet. They dress in a breathtaking manner and bet that whoever gets the most roses will do whatever the other wants. Dustin then talks to many women who are surprised by his smile, while Yu talks to a guy who shows his little bird. He zips his pants, and since Yu doesn't like it, she asks for money in exchange for the rose, but the man refuses, as does the next one. She feels pity, unlike Dustin, who has won many roses. When he sees her sad, he decides to give her a special rose. This gesture excites her, but she prefers not to accept it. After that, she meets Sun, her ex-boss, with whom she had a relationship. Dustin notices a tension between them that she doesn't like, but he still promises to help her find a boyfriend. In exchange, he asks her to convince her mother to release him from work. She wants to know more about him, but Dustin tells her not to interfere in his life. When he leaves, he realizes that his aunt noticed how his heart was set on him. So, she threatens to throw her heel at him if he returns to her. Saying this, she imagines how Yu takes a shower and goes to work with her. Dustin presents his dating plan to her, but since he hasn't fallen in love in a long time, he first needs to feel what it is like to love for the first time. That's why they pretend to be students. Yu feels embarrassed to wear such a short skirt, but he tells her she is very beautiful and that the important thing on a date is not how you dress, but who you're with. So, Dustin grabs Yu's body, and together, she finds a school where there are many couples. He asks to hold her hand, but she feels shy. So, she grabs a sweater, and together they go to secret places where students kiss. She is shy, so he takes the opportunity to get close to her lips. However, instead of kissing her, he asks her about her relationship with her boss, and she responds that she used to love him, but one day she found out he was married, and that's when the relationship ended. Her heart is still broken. Dustin then writes their names on the lover's board and shouts Yu's name for everyone to hear. But the security guard chases them, and they hide in a bush. After that, Dustin tears her pants and laughs because her underwear is visible. She quickly covers her pants, and he tells her to go back, but the truth is, he enjoys looking at her butt. The two feel a lot of love for each other, but suddenly, the girl who is the face of their dating app goes through a situation of infidelity. This becomes disastrous for their company, so they come up with an emergency plan. However, this girl is also Yu's friend, and she becomes very sad about the situation. Dustin comforts her with his love, and Yu secretly decides to get revenge on her husband. She gives her husband a massage session, and when he gets distracted, she ties his hands and pours boiling water on him. Then, she writes "unfaithful" on his back. However, She finds out that it was Dustin, the masseur, who did this, as there was a mix-up. She apologizes to Dustin, and they realize they are alone, with a huge tension between them. Dustin asks her to erase what she wrote on his back, and to do so, he enters the bath with very little clothing and brushes her back with a toothbrush, but does nothing. Then, he grabs a bigger brush, which causes a lot of pain, and promises to get back at her. He storms into her office and calls her a witch. But quickly, Yu goes to a company dinner where she sees a boy she thinks is Dustin's girlfriend. The women at the table ask if she has a handsome boyfriend, and she replies that yes, he will come immediately. Then, she texts Dustin, asking him to pretend to be her boyfriend, and he agrees, in exchange for a day off to ride a motorcycle, which is his dream. Meanwhile, Yu drinks too much, and when her boss appears, she is so drunk that she has difficulty standing up. Fortunately, Dustin arrives, and she sees his beautiful eyes, which save her from her boss and take her to his house. Yu wants to party more and insists that he drinks with her. The two get drunk, and Dustin says he doesn't like her face when she gets angry. But she confesses that she doesn't know how to love someone and begins to cry in sadness because she knows she is missing the most exciting part of life. The next day, they wake up in the same bed. Dustin asks if they made love, and she immediately slaps him out of embarrassment. However, she slaps him so hard that she ends up hurting his neck. Yu's face is painted, and Dustin blames her for escaping. She realizes that his love for her grows after this. Dustin's mother explains that his ex-girlfriend has returned and wants them to be a couple again. She asks him to allow it, but this makes her very serious at work, and he grows cold toward his beloved Dustin, who tries to melt her with a look. Then, Dustin's ex-girlfriend appears at his house, saying that she is looking for him and asks for his help, claiming that he is like a sticky sweet that won't leave him alone. Dustin hides behind the curtain, and after a while, he manages to deceive her. He breathes easily and then goes to meet his boss. Dustin gives some seduction tips for the meeting, like touching her hair and ear, but he can't focus on the love he feels, and he is not the only one. Dustin's cheeks turn red, and Yu, jokingly, tells him that when the meeting arrives, she tries to use all the techniques Dustin taught her, but due to her shyness, they don't work. Additionally, every time she looks at Sunny, she imagines Dustin, and the meeting ends in disaster. Even so, Sunny says that the girl from back then is not his girlfriend, so she knows that he still loves her. When Dustin goes to work, he behaves like a servant. With her, he opens the door and hangs her jacket on her, acting like her Prince Charming who only wants to kiss her lips. However, she only thinks about work, and he asks about the previous night's meeting. But she prefers to keep it a secret, which makes Dustin unhappy, as he suffers every second she doesn't love him. After that, Dustin's ex-girlfriend starts working at the company and says that she will keep an eye on him. She warns that if he hides from her, she will tell everyone that they still have something. Elosa interrupts and marks her territory in front of the ex-girlfriend, saying Dustin is hers. Then, Dustin notices that she put lipstick on her lips and that her clothes are new. He says they look nice, and she explains it's for his boss, who is coming for a meeting. At least, he hopes. Dustin takes her hand and puts cologne on it, so she looks good for the boss. But he quickly regrets it, and during the meeting, he acts intelligently with Ion Arla. His boss thinks Dustin is a bother, just like his ex-girlfriend, who came close and made him laugh. Yu became jealous and said she would have dinner with her boss. Dustin then sneaks into their dinner and watches her put food in her mouth while dying of jealousy. Fortunately, the boss leaves for work, and the two meet in a movie theater, where they are happy to see each other's eyes. They decide to go ice skating, and although neither of them knows, their smiles make their feet float, and love wraps them up all day. Dustin's work doesn't stop looking at her, and she tells him to hide a bit, so people will think they are dating. He keeps trying, and in his office, he tries to seduce her with his bad boy tricks. It's hard for him to breathe because of all the love, but his ex-girlfriend does everything she can to stay by Dustin's side, who tries to ignore her. At the same time, he notices Yu's eyes on him, spying on him, certain that she doesn't like the girl. After the incident with Dustin's favorite motorcycle, he reveals to Yu that it holds a special meaning for him. It wasn't just a reminder of his youth, but also a painful moment in his life. Yu, on the other hand, is touched by the affection he shows her when sharing this memory. However, for her, the motorcycle represents something deeper. It was the one she fell off of when her friend was in a coma, and it became a symbol of her philosophy in life: to treat people with kindness because we never know when our last day will come. She also recognizes that, thanks to Dustin, she has started to get more out of life. When the company begins to face financial problems, Dustin organizes an important meeting with wealthy clients, but doesn't know how to play golf, which creates an uncomfortable situation. Seizing the opportunity, he decides to teach you how to play, and by doing so, starts to get closer to her in a more intimate way. He touches her body, her hands, and feels her breath quickening. While she learns the game, a tension begins to grow between them, something neither of them can deny. Rivalry increases when Dustin's ex-girlfriend starts working at the company. She tries to get closer to him in every way possible, and you feel jealousy creeping into her heart. Meanwhile, Dustin tries to handle the attention from his ex and the confusing feelings he has for you. In a moment of frustration, he tells his ex that, when he was younger, he made a vow to marry her in the future, but he says that he's changed his mind because there's another girl he loves. When she asks who it is, Dustin doesn't answer out of embarrassment. On the way home, he tells you that she's an adorable girl and that he wants to sleep in her bed. However, she responds that she has work tomorrow and his hope of sleeping with her crumbles. So, he drowns his sorrows by riding his motorcycle at full speed. His friend tells him that if he goes that fast, he'll get into an accident, but Dustin says he's not afraid of death, except for not being able to see you again. You receives a call from the president because of a mistake in Dustin's shipment, and when she sees him, she yells at him in anger. Even though he apologizes, she keeps berating him, which breaks Dustin's heart because he thought she was a kind woman, but now she seems harsh and cold. So he tells her that he hates her. His ex-girlfriend takes the opportunity to comfort him, touching him and trying to get close. Dustin regrets it afterward and apologizes because seeing you so sad tears his soul apart. He tells you that he's now very happy to have her by his side. The work presentation goes great, and his mother is proud of him. Dustin asks for a few days off to dedicate himself to motorcycles, but you refuses, saying that they need to keep working on the dating app. Dustin accepts this, but it doesn't dampen his passion for motorcycles. He tells his mother that she has a wonderful son and that she should be proud of him. This makes Dustin cry, and he goes to a flower shop to buy a flower. His ex-girlfriend assumes it's a gift for her, but she's wrong. Dustin shows up at Yu's house and gives her the flower as a thank you for defending him in front of his mother. Then Valentine's Day arrives, and Dustin's ex-girlfriend gives him a box of chocolates, which he accepts. Yu sees this, and time freezes. She decides to steal all the chocolates and give them to Dustin instead. However, Dustin's ex reveals that she's already received a gift from another guy. It turns out she and the boss had planned to send a heart-shaped gift to Dustin to separate the two of them. Yu becomes so nervous that she accidentally drops a board on her hand. At the hospital, she discovers that she has a severe fracture, and the doctor advises her to rest and avoid putting stress on her hand. Dustin then offers to be her servant. He does all the housework for her, washes her clothes, and when he makes her food, he lovingly puts an apron on. When he touches her hands, he feels a passion that makes him fulfill all of Yu's wishes. At one point, when there's food stuck to her lips, he gently wipes it off, touching her mouth, which is like a dream come true for him. However, their moment is interrupted when her boss arrives and also offers to help her. Yu finds his presence bothersome, and the two men start arguing. Yu finally asks for peace between the two of them. But when Suni gets up to go to the bathroom, he secretly puts spicy food in Yu's dish, and her tongue hurts badly afterward. She then meets up with him and says something particular to Yu, feeling forced to leave because of the jealousy building up inside her. Meanwhile, she hears Dustin whispering something in his ear, and the jealousy intensifies. Later, they realize that the cactus he gave her has a flower, and both of them get excited, exchanging looks while their love blossoms too. This is why Yu decides to put Dustin's name on her dating app, but also mentions that they aren't very compatible, which bothers her. However, things start to go wrong. She gets wet, her shoe breaks, and she loses her apartment key. Everything seems to be falling apart until she finds Dustin, who lets her into his house. Since she's soaked, he gives her his clothes, which show off her legs, making her feel hot as if it were a summer oven. She soon realizes that she hurt her ankle, and Dustin takes care of her by giving her medicine. With every touch of his hand, her life starts to make sense, and she realizes how red he is. She asks him if he likes her, and Dustin pretends to be clueless. Since there's only one bed, he sleeps on the couch, but his heart is restless. Unable to sleep, he sneaks into Yu's bed, where she pretends to be asleep. Upon seeing her so beautiful, He tells her that the plant he gave her also symbolizes love until the end, and admits that he regrets having helped her find another boyfriend because he is the one who desires her lips. Later, they take a trip where Suni gives you gifts and lavishes attention on her, leaving Dustin unable to talk to her since his ex-girlfriend constantly interrupts him. Things don't go as planned, and when they are finally alone, Suni confesses to you that he has always loved her and wishes they were dating. Before anything else can happen, they are interrupted by Dustin, who, in an effort to make her fall in love, starts singing a love song for her in front of everyone. He gets so drunk that you ends up taking him to her room, where he falls into bed. They don't do anything, but rumors spread that they're together since they were seen in the same room. Dustin's ex-girlfriend asks him if you is his girlfriend, and although he says he doesn't know, he's lying because he spends days staring at her. Eventually, Dustin decides he wants to confess his love to her. He starts preparing a presentation with all the reasons they should be together, telling her that she's a beautiful girl and showing photos he took of her throughout the year where her beauty is highlighted. Above all, he tells her that he can't accept a future without her and asks her to sign a contract to be his girlfriend. Yu feels excited but is torn because Suni also loves her. Her friend advises her to test both of them to see who loves her more. The competition begins as both men earn points with their actions. Dustin puts his best effort into showing her his love, while Suni buys her dresses and shoes, seemingly winning her over. But during a wedding where she feels alone, Dustin appears to keep her company, becoming her Prince Charming, protecting her from some malicious women who are bullying her. Everyone tells her how lucky she is to have such a handsome boyfriend. Suddenly, Yu sees a water fountain, which triggers a traumatic memory from her childhood when she almost drowned. Dustin promises to help her overcome her fear and takes her to a swimming pool. At first, she is scared, but he reassures her that he'll never let her go and that she can trust him. After a few minutes, men without shirts approach her, asking for her phone number, but Yu only notices Dustin's muscles. Jealous, Dustin tells them to leave, but Yu insists it isn't necessary. Even though she says this, Dustin is overcome with jealousy. Afterward, Dustin takes a motorcycle ride, thinking about Yu and the feelings he has for her. But when he crashes terribly on the road, he screams in pain until a man helps him to the hospital, where he finds his mother, worried about him. Still, he remembers that Yu is with Suni as planned. He uses crutches to go meet her, determined that not even the pain in his leg will stop him from seeing her. He finds her at a farm full of chickens. He spies on them but makes a strange move, causing the chickens to start attacking him, as well as Suni. The two defend themselves as best they can, and later, in the locker room, they declare war for Yu's love. The fact is, Suni says she belongs to him since they've known each other longer. But Dustin responds that what matters is not the duration of the relationship, but the intensity of the love. Dustin tells you that she's beautiful and treats her like a queen. But one night, she sees that she has fewer points than the director to be his girlfriend. Dustin gets angry and tells you that she's disappointed with him because true love isn't based on numbers, but on what you feel in your heart. She feels bad for hurting his love. The company faces problems and hires a new director to replace Yu, who is kicked out of her office. She acts as though she doesn't care, but Dustin notices that she's sad and says she can cry on his shoulder. Yu explains that everything she fought for is gone, and she cries desperately. After that, the new director starts mistreating the employees, and Yu argues with him, but the director decides to fire her. She says goodbye to her colleagues sadly, and to her surprise, Dustin also leaves the job in solidarity with her. Dustin spends time at home and later goes to the gym with Yu, where he gets excited seeing her body and follows her wherever she goes, like he's her husband. One day, Dustin goes to Yu's house to surprise her, but her father arrives in town and enters the house. Dustin hides behind a curtain, but her father finds Yu and doesn't believe he's just the janitor. He thinks he's the reason Yu got fired from her job. Her father is disappointed in her for wasting time with boys instead of thinking about work. Yu explains that her father has always been very strict with her. To cheer her up, Dustin shows her a toy that, when hit, drops special candies, which are her favorite from when she was a child. He takes one and places it in Yu's mouth, which she perceives as a kiss. Dustin then explains that work isn't that important, and the most important thing is to enjoy the people around you, because true happiness is found there. Dustin prepares a date at a wish tree, and when Yu makes her wish, he appears in the distance like a wonderful dream, blowing kisses to make her fall in love. But due to his clumsiness, the kisses don't work. They then have a picnic, where they make each other laugh, and Yu falls in love with him when a petal falls on her nose. Dustin gently removes the pedal, and their eyes meet in an explosion of love. They realize how much they love each other. Dustin invites her for a romantic helicopter ride. Everything goes well until the engine fails, and Yu says she doesn't want to die. They hold hands, and Dustin promises to save her. The helicopter crashes, but Dustin, terrified, says he won't die without kissing her. Yu responds that she has so many things in her heart she wants to tell him. Dustin takes control of the helicopter and manages to land it safely. After landing, Dustin hugs her, and Yu says she's always liked him and is tired of pretending she doesn't. She loved him even before she was insecure, but now she knows he's the love of her life. Excited, Dustin doesn't wait any longer and kisses her gently, igniting sparks in her soul. They pull away in shock, but Dustin likes it so much that he presses her against the helicopter and kisses her again, more intensely. After that, Dustin says he loves her too, and they become a couple. They rent a hotel room for the night, but realize there are separate beds. Dustin doesn't like this because he wants to be with her. So, he suggests they take a bath together, but Yu rejects him, locking herself in the bathroom and making things difficult. So, Dustin puts a plastic snake on her bed to make a joke, but she notices it. When Dustin gets distracted, she places it in his bed, and when Dustin sees it, he gets so scared that he runs to Jen's bed. She gets shy, and he says he can't sleep alone, taking the opportunity to slip his hand under the blanket. She tells him to wait because he gives her a gift where their memories are like tickets to the movie of when they ice skated and all the moments when they were very happy. Dustin is moved, and she tells him that her biggest wish is to be with him all the time in her life. Then, in bed, she brings her lips close to Dustin's, and they kiss one after the other, setting the bed on fire. The next morning, Dustin takes her phone to continue kissing her, and then they go for a bike ride together. They have problems with the director, and they offer help through a video call. After working so much, her head starts to hurt, and he takes the opportunity to give her a beautiful massage, which makes them feel hot. Suddenly, they get the news that his mother had a heart attack, and he rushes to the hospital. There, his mother tells him that he needs to take over the company while she recovers, and Dustin agrees, but only if Yu is allowed to work there too, because a life without her doesn't make sense to him. His mother agrees, and Yu is admitted to the job. Everyone congratulates her, and they take every chance to be alone and show each other love. However, they're about to be hunted, and they must be careful because relationships at work are forbidden. Then, Dustin's ex-girlfriend arrives, and he gives her a hug. When she sees them so close, she feels jealous and tries to separate them, but she can't. Her jealousy increases when she hears rumors that they still love each other. She interrupts a meeting and treats Yu like a simple employee, which hurts her, and she becomes cold toward him, like an idiot. She also sees Dustin in a hotel with Yu, so she decides to follow him. She enters the room where they're celebrating one of Dustin's friend's birthday, but his ex-girlfriend isn't there. Dustin explains that he met her in the lobby because she lives there. Yu says she's afraid he doesn't love her anymore, and he replies that that's impossible because his love is tattooed on her skin. He then explains that his mother asked him to sell the dating app, and his ex-girlfriend wants to buy it. But he doesn't want to sell it because he knows that would hurt Yu a lot since it's her dream, and she's also his girlfriend. However, rumors spread that there are problems with the app, and the employees are worried. But thanks to Dustin, who finds a traitor, he saves the company. To his surprise, his mother fires him, but not because he made a mistake, but so that he can pursue his dream of being a motorcyclist, thanks to Yu, who is the one who convinced his mother. His mother frees her son, whom she loves with all her soul, and gives him a new motorcycle to race on. He's so filled with happiness that he hugs her and then kisses her, which stops her sobbing and shows his love for her. He starts practicing for the race, but they realize that on the same day as the race, she will launch a new dating app. They say nothing will happen because they will support each other from a distance. But when the race day comes, he realizes that he can't race without her because without her, it feels like he has no racing tracks. So, Yu runs away from work with all their friends and shows up at the race. Dustin is very happy to see her, and she says yes, the best racer. He encourages him to win, and then he does a live show where he explains that Dustin is his boyfriend. At the start of the race, Dustin advances several positions, placing himself in second place, but suddenly there's an accident. He remembers when his friend fell into a coma after a motorcycle handlebar hit his head, which always traumatized him. But when he thinks of the smile of his beloved and the life they have ahead, he knows it's time to leave the trauma behind. He finally finishes in first place. Then Dustin celebrates with his girlfriend, who screams with emotion. After that, a team wants to hire him for the next season, but he would have to leave for 6 months. He decides to talk to you, and although she feels very sorry, she knows it's his dream and agrees. She goes to take a shower, and Dustin finds a positive pregnancy test and wonders whether he should hide it to surprise her. However, when he thinks about being a father, he asks himself why he didn't ask her to marry him. This is why he starts preparing a marriage proposal. She asks her friends for help, and then Jay follows some arrows at work that lead her to a man dressed as a bear, who does a strange dance for her and takes her to her lover, who is inside a heart made of candles. She approaches nervously while he looks at her with deep love and thanks the entire world for having met her. Then he shows her a wedding ring and asks if she wants to marry him. Of course, she wants to, but she explains that she's not actually pregnant, but the tests belong to her friend. She also says that she wants to live more as a girlfriend because being married comes with a lot of responsibility. He asks his friend for advice and says that they could start living together so she can get used to him before they get married. Dustin brings his pillow to her house and behaves like the best boyfriend, making heart-shaped food for her, cleaning all her clothes, and then putting a rose in her mouth to surprise her. However, Yu is with her friends, and he gets embarrassed. After that, they go shopping, and suddenly, a child hugs Dustin, thinking he's his father. It turns out the child is lost, and for a day, they become parents. To make the child happy, they take him to the horses they buy for him, giving him all kinds of treats. Then a waitress tells them they make a lovely family, and Dustin pretends they are a real family. He says his wife is expecting a second child, and she blushes. The three of them spend a pleasant time until they find the child's parents. She feels both joy and sadness at the same time because her dream is to be a mother. Dustin then goes to have dinner at his in-laws' house, and he gets very nervous because his father looks at him with hatred and seems to dislike him. Then, he asks what he will do to make his daughter happy, and he replies that he will protect her and give her the happiness she truly deserves. He promises to sacrifice every day of his life so that she can be loved. In the end, he gains the father's acceptance. After that, they put cream pies on each other's faces and enjoy the last time together before Dustin leaves for abroad. Of course, that day comes, and she says goodbye at home, looking at all the memories of their love and all the hot kisses they gave each other. She feels a deep sorrow. Then, Dusty gives her some flowers to water and think of him when they're not together. Before he leaves, he takes her to visit his friend in a coma and asks her to visit him in his place and give him all the love he can't. After that, they hug and promise to love each other from a distance. Both seem strong in front of each other, but when they part, they both fall into desperate tears because they know they'll miss each other during the time they're apart. 6 months pass, and we see that Yu is a successful woman who goes to a gala where she wins the Best App of the Year award. But her true prize is that Dustin has returned to her side, and she can see his eyes and his smile shining at her. Yu says that before, she was insensitive to love, but Dustin taught her that she no longer fears opening her heart. That's why she plays a video on the screen, which is directed to Dustin. In the video, she visits all the places that meant something in their love story. Now, in front of everyone, she asks him to marry her because she wants to spend her life with him. The video also contains the surprise that his friend in a coma has recovered. Then everyone shouts for her to accept, and Dustin gets on stage to perform in front of his beloved. With the same ring from before, they agree to marry each other. Yu says that she never thought a man would change the course of her life, but now she has him in front of her. So sweet. The two embrace while everyone applauds their love because they love each other with such passion that nothing can separate them. This is why they decide to unite their future forever and have children, because when you find the person you love, you just want to enjoy every second of your life, looking into their eyes, their lips, their smile, because their soul is the energy that fills you with love. And above all, it tells you that you've finally found happiness. If you're a fan of Korean, Chinese, and Asian dramas in general, make sure to subscribe to the channel. That way, you'll get episodes like this every day and stay updated on everything. Don't forget to hit that like button, because that way YouTube will send you my videos every time I post a new one. See you in the next episode. See you later.